Okay, let's unpack this. Picture this. You've put in the hours, maybe you even feel pretty good about what you know, but then the exam rolls around and you walk out feeling, well, like you didn't quite nail it.
Hmm.
Maybe you made those frustrating, silly mistakes on things you knew, or maybe you just sort of froze up. It's that universal feeling of dread or plain frustration tied to exams, isn't it?
It really is. That gap between what you know and how you perform under pressure is something so many people experience. It's a common puzzle.
Why does the effort, the studying, not always translate directly into the result you want?
And cracking that puzzle is exactly our mission for this deep dive. We're not just going to list common exam mistakes. We're going to pull out the key insights from our sources to show you why these mistakes happen and, more importantly, give you a shortcut, sort of, to the most effective ways to avoid them. Yeah, and we've gathered a really solid stack of materials for this. We've looked at articles from OES 24, First Intuition, Easy Peasy Puzzles that one came via Rajan Agrawal, and insights from academic centers like the University of Central Florida's Student Academic Resource Center, Mercy College of Ohio, and Infinity Learn too.
So we've got perspectives covering the whole journey, really, from the foundational work before you even step into the room to navigating the pressure during the test, managing your own headspace, and even how to learn and improve after it's all over.
Right.
Our goal is to distill this into the essential knowledge you need to minimize those frustrating errors and, perform at your best.
This deep dive is truly tailored for you, whether you're facing a big test yourself, maybe helping someone else through the process, trying to boost your own study effectiveness, or even just curious about peak performance under pressure.
Yeah.
There's a lot of wisdom in these sources that goes beyond just exams, actually.
Absolutely. So let's dive right into the preparation phase. Because, as our sources pretty much universally point out, most problems start long, long before exam day.
They really do. And while it might sound obvious, the number one pitfall identified across pretty much all our sources, OES CUMI 4, First Intuition, Infinity Learn, is simply inadequate preparation. Or, maybe more specifically, studying without a coherent plan.
It's not just about the raw number of hours logged, is it? Like OES 24 points out that effective preparation really depends on the specific subject, the type of exam, and how you personally learn best. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of grind.
Precisely. And the most powerful antidote isn't just more studying, it's planned studying. The core solution from these sources is creating a realistic study schedule, and crucially, spreading your sessions out over time.
Spacing it out.
Yeah. First Intuition is quite specific, suggesting something like 10-12 hours per subject per week in the final few weeks. That consistency seems to be key.
Consistency, which is basically the exact opposite of that other major preparation pitfall, procrastination, putting off studying until the last minute.
Ugh. The dreaded delay game. OES 24 and Infinity Learn highlight this as a huge source of stress and, frankly, underperformance. It's that classic short-term comfort trap, scrolling instead of studying, that creates long-term pain.
So how do these sources suggest you break that cycle? Because it's a tough one.
Well, it largely comes down to making the task feel less intimidating and more manageable. OES 24 recommends breaking study into small chunks, maybe just 20-30 minutes at a time.
Okay.
Set clear, specific goals for that small block of time. And importantly, eliminate distractions. Ruthlessly phone away, turn off notifications, close unnecessary tabs, find a quiet spot. Infinity Learn echoes this on distractions and even suggests using screen time limiting apps.
Breaking it down like that makes it feel less like staring up at a huge cliff face and more like just taking one step at a time, I suppose.
Exactly. And OES 24 adds techniques like the Pomodoro technique, those focused work sprints followed by short breaks, or finding an accountability partner, someone to check in with, even giving yourself small rewards for sticking to your plan.
Right.
Infinity Learn's simple take is plan early, stick to it.
Which naturally leads us to the consequence of not planning early. Cramming, that last-minute rush.
Oh yeah, cramming is universally panned by our sources. OES 24, First Intuition, Infinity Learn, even TIST, another source on test prep, warns against it. It's stressful, it's generally ineffective for deep learning, and OES 24 points out it just doesn't promote real understanding or long-term retention.
So the fix is basically the mirror image of the mistake. Just don't cram.
Fundamentally, yes.
Here.
Aim for steady, consistent effort over time. Break material into digestible chunks and use spaced repetition, reviewing material at increasing intervals as recommended by OES 24 Infinity Learn. Schedule regular revision sessions before the panic potentially sets in.
This touches on how you study, not just when. What's the common mistake in the actual method of studying?
Relying solely on passive learning, just reading over notes or highlighting textbooks. OES 24, First Intuition, and Infinity Learn all caution against this. First Intuition, easy peasy puzzles, and Infinity Learn specifically call out simply memorizing facts or text without, understanding the underlying concepts.
So the brain isn't really engaging with the material, it's just sort of washing over it.
Precisely. You need to actively process it. OES 24 and Infinity Learn emphasize understanding concepts thoroughly. First Intuition suggests rereading notes in your own words. That's a big one. Ask questions, work through problems, try explaining the material to someone else or even an imaginary class. First Intuition has a neat tip. Write down everything you know about a topic using simple headings like why, how, what, when, who. Infinity Learn adds focusing on the why and using real-life examples to make those connections stick.
That makes a lot of sense. You're building a framework in your head, not just collecting loose bricks. What about testing yourself before the actual test? Is that important?
Absolutely crucial, and another major mistake is skipping this step. OES 24, First Intuition, Easy Peasy Puzzles, Infinity Learn, and Bethel University all highlight the lack of sufficient practice, particularly question practice. TIST adds that inconsistent practice leads to knowledge gaps later on.
Practice being the bridge between knowing the concept and actually being able to apply it under pressure.
Exactly. Solutions include actively solving problems, taking quizzes, working sample questions. First Intuition stresses getting questions marked whether by someone else or yourself, reading model answers, and crucially, doing questions under timed conditions.
The time pressure.
Yeah. They even suggest the entire last week before an exam should be almost solely focused on question practice, only referring back to notes when you actually get stuck. Easy peasy puzzles and Infinity Learn reinforce the value of past papers and timed mock tests.
Okay, so planned, active study, lots of practice under timed conditions.
Right.
What about downtime? I know some people feel guilty taking breaks when they feel they should be studying 24/7.
And First Intuition would say that's a mistake. Powering through for hours without a break, or thinking that just having your books open nearby somehow counts as effective learning. It really doesn't.
So scheduled breaks are actually productive.
Very. First Intuition recommends a 10-15-minute break every 45 minutes or so of focused study. And their clever tip is to use the start of the next study block to quickly test yourself on what you just covered before the break.
Oh, interesting.
It helps reinforce the information. The point is, the quality of your study matters much more than the sheer quantity of time you spend with material open in front of you.
That quick self-test is smart. It forces retrieval right away. Environment matters too, right? Where you study.
Definitely. OES 24 notes a disorganized study space as a potential issue, and Infinity Learn flags studying with constant distractions. Pretty intuitive, really.
Right. Pretty intuitive solution there. Clean up your space and tune out the noise.
Basically, yes. Create a clean, organized space that feels conducive to study. Identify and actively eliminate distractions, phone on, silent, and maybe even out of sight. Close unnecessary browser tabs. Find a quiet place if you can. Infinity Learn suggests setting strict study times and leveraging technology like apps to limit screen time during those dedicated periods.
And finally, in this whole preparation phase, there's something that often gets sacrificed when time gets tight. Basic self-care.
Yeah, overlooking self-care during busy exam periods is a mistake, OES 24 points out quite clearly. First, Intuition and Easy Peasy Puzzles specifically mention studying late into the night as a problem, and Infinity Learn broadly refers to maintaining an unhealthy lifestyle during this time.
It feels counterintuitive when you're stressed and feel like every minute counts, but the sources suggest it's actually essential.
It really is. Prioritizing self-care alongside academics is key, according to OES 24. Establish a routine that includes time for relaxation, some physical activity, and healthy meals. And critically, prioritize sleep.
Sleep, yeah. Always the first thing to go.
But it shouldn't be. OES 24, Easy Peasy Puzzles, Infinity Learn, and Mercy College all stress getting a solid 7-8 hours of sleep. Eat nutritious foods, stay hydrated. First, Intuition points out that research shows our brains function best earlier in the day, not after pulling all-nighters, and lack of sleep just demolishes your stamina and focus. Mercy College even adds specific dietary advice, like avoiding excessive sugar or heavily processed foods close to study time or the exam itself.
So preparation is really about building the solid foundation. Planning, active learning, consistent practice, smart breaks, a good environment, and actually taking care of your physical and mental well-being throughout the process.
Exactly. That sets the stage. Now let's shift gears and talk about the moment you actually sit down, the exam paper's in front of you, the clock starts ticking. What are the common stumbles during the test itself?
I imagine a big one is just not fully grasping what the test is actually asking you to do, misreading instructions or questions.
Absolutely. OES 24 identifies not understanding the exam format itself as a frequent error. Easy peasy puzzles, Bethel University and Mercy College emphasize failing to read instructions carefully. And sources also mention those logistical slip-ups, like forgetting essential items, your calculator, your ID, or leaving attendance info to the last minute.
These are seemingly small things, but they can cause a lot of unnecessary stress right at the very start, can't they?
They really can't, and they're completely avoidable. The first step inside the exam room, or before you start online, is to fully comprehend the format, multiple choice, essay, short answer, whatever it is. Then read all the instructions meticulously. Note details like how many questions to answer, the time allocated per section, or any specific formatting requirements. Know your exam types from practice and adapt your strategy accordingly.
Okay.
Bethel University suggests seeking clarification from the proctor or instructor before you start if anything is unclear. Find out if they're even allowed to answer your question about the instructions.
And practically speaking, how do you avoid forgetting your pen?
Well, Easy Peasy Puzzles and Mercy College recommend having an exam checklist prepared the night before. Pack your bag then. First, Intuition advises sorting out attendance details well in advance and, if it's a physical exam, maybe even rehearsing your route to the location. Definitely remember essentials: ID, water, pens, calculator if needed.
Right.
Mercy College suggests arriving early, but perhaps not so early that you end up just soaking up anxiety from everyone else waiting nervously. Find that balance.
That's a good point. Okay, so once the test actually starts, time management becomes absolutely paramount.
And poor time management is a huge mistake cited by nearly all sources. OES 24, Easy Peasy Puzzles, First Intuition, Bethel University, Infinity Learn. It's a classic. This often manifests as spending way too much time bogged down on one tricky question,
We've all done that.
or not calculating how much time you can afford per question or section. Bethel University mentions that. Starting with the hardest questions first is another one Easy Peasy Puzzles points out, or not allocating your effort proportionally to the marks available for each question.
So how do you master that in the heat of the moment? You need a strategy going in, presumably.
You absolutely do. Allocate time to each section or question based on its marks or weightage before you start writing. Keep an eye on the clock or your watch. First Intuition offers a simple but really powerful calculation. Divide the total exam time in minutes by the total marks available to get the minutes per mark.
Ah.
So for a 3-hour exam, that's 180 minutes. If it's 100 marks, that's 1.8 minutes per mark. For a 2-hour, 120-minute exam, it's 1.2 minutes per mark, roughly.
That gives you a concrete pacing guide, doesn't it?
It does. Set a strict time limit for each question based on that calculation. If you hit your time limit on a question and you're still struggling, move on. Seriously. Easy Peasy Puzzles, First Intuition, Bethel University, Mercy College all say this. You can always circle back later if there's time left.
Right. Don't get stuck.
Don't get stuck. Easy Peasy Puzzles suggests maybe starting with questions you feel confident about to build momentum and confidence first. Prioritize questions by weightage too. Budget more time for essays or complex problem solving compared to quick, multiple-choice questions.
We talked about understanding questions during prep, but it must be a really common mistake during the test to misread or misinterpret them under pressure.
Oh, it happens all the time. Easy Peasy Puzzles, Bethel University, and Infinity Learn call this out specifically. Bethel University even has error categories like misread direction and misinterpret question. This includes things like skimming and missing crucial details or overlooking keywords like not or except.
Or reading too much into it.
Yeah, Bethel University adds that trap of reading more into the question than is actually there, looking for complexity that doesn't exist.
So the advice is slow down and actually read the question properly, even when the clock is ticking.
Exactly. Read every question carefully, maybe even twice. Actively engage with the text underlined or highlight important keywords that tell you what to do. Explain, compare, list, analyze, justify. Those verbs are key.
Okay.
Before you write a single word of your answer, ensure you understand exactly what's being asked. Bethel University suggests circling or underlining these keywords and using them as a quick checklist afterwards to verify you've addressed all parts of the question. Just take that moment to process.
Okay, so once you understand the question, how do you answer it effectively without making other kinds of errors in your response itself?
Well, one mistake OES 24 highlights is overthinking, dwelling too long, or looking for those hidden complexities when maybe a straightforward answer is all that's needed. Bethel University points out the flip side. Writing lots and lots of words that don't actually answer the specific question asked. Yeah, or adding unnecessary detail just to fill space, as Easy Peasy Puzzles notes. Not supporting your points with evidence, facts, or data where appropriate is a significant issue flagged by Bethel University. And disorganized answers or just launching into an essay without any kind of plan are also common traps.
So the key is be direct, be clear, and be structured.
Pretty much. Read
Ugh.
carefully first. For multiple choice, OVS Come4 and Bethel University suggest trusting your first instinct if you've studied, it's often correct, though Bethel adds a good caution. Only change an answer if you are positively certain your first instinct was wrong. Use process of elimination, obviously.
Right.
If a question is truly challenging, flag it and return later. Don't get bogged down. Look for the most straightforward solution rather than overcomplicating things.
What if you're genuinely not sure about the full answer, but you don't want to just leave it blank?
That's a great point. Easy Peasy Puzzles and Bethel University strongly advise writing something relevant. Even if you're unsure, partial credit is often awarded, and 0 is guaranteed if you leave it blank. Stick to word limits if they're specified. For essays, definitely plan your structure, quick outline. Intro, body points with evidence, conclusion before you start writing. Support your points with evidence, and make sure you practice doing this during your study, as Bethel University stresses. Organize your answer logically.
Okay, now for the really frustrating ones. The careless or mechanical errors. The ones you kick yourself for afterwards.
Oh, they're the worst. Bethel University lists careless errors as a specific category. Not checking your answers over at the end is a major culprit here, flagged by Easy Peasy Puzzles and Bethel University.
What kind of things?
Specific examples from the sources include accidentally marking the wrong bubble on a multiple choice sheet, not double-checking question numbers when you write your answer, using incorrect units or terminology in science or math, forgetting to label diagrams or graphs, poor handwriting making things illegible, or even just miscopying an answer from your scratch paper onto the actual exam paper.
These really do sound like errors that could potentially be caught with a final review sweep if you leave time for it.
Exactly. The key solution here is to consciously allocate specific time at the end of the exam just for reviewing your answers. Check for spelling mistakes, missing steps in calculations, incomplete explanations, and just general mechanical errors. Write neatly, maybe use headings or bullet points for clarity.
Right.
If your handwriting is notoriously bad, Bethel University suggests consciously trying to print or write slower during the test itself. Always include units, terminology, and labels where needed. Double-check you wrote the answer for question 5 next to the number 5. Bethel University even suggests a system. Systematically compare your scratch work to your test answer. Maybe place the scratch paper right above the test paper as you transfer answers.
Those little details are incredibly helpful. What about those moments when your mind goes blank? Or a question seems impossibly tricky?
Right, the panic moments. Well, leaving questions blank is generally a mistake. Unless there's severe negative marking, you guarantee 0 marks that way.
Sure.
Overlooking negative marking rules is another pitfall. Easy Peasy Puzzles mentions you need to know if guessing hurts you. Getting completely stuck on one difficult problem and losing track of time is another classic Bethel University points out. Or, paradoxically, rushing through the parts you find easy and making silly mistakes there.
So what's the advice when you freeze up or hit a wall with a question?
Okay, if there's no negative marking, attempt every question. Write down anything relevant, even formulas or definitions, to try and get partial credit. If there's negative marking, Easy Peasy Puzzle says only guess if you can confidently eliminate at least 1 or 2 options. Otherwise, maybe leave it.
Makes sense.
To avoid getting stuck, stick rigidly to your time limit per question. If you tend to rush the easy parts, Bethel University suggests making a point to review those specifically during your final check. Mercy College advises that if you go blank on a question, just skip it and come back later. Don't dwell. If it's an essay exam and you draw a complete blank on a prompt, just pick one and start writing anything. Often, the act of writing itself can unlock your thoughts.
That's good advice.
And importantly, Mercy College reminds you not to panic if other people start finishing early. Just focus entirely on your own paper and your own time.
Those are incredibly practical strategies for navigating the chaos of the exam itself. But it's not just about the mechanics, is it? There's the whole internal experience, the anxiety, the pressure, the mindset.
Absolutely. The mind-body connection plays a huge role here. Not managing exam anxiety effectively, or worse, panicking, is a major barrier identified by OES 24 and Easy Peasy Puzzles. Mercy College emphasizes that test anxiety can completely derail performance, even for students who are actually really well prepared. And Infinity Learn notes that fear of failure can sometimes cause you to simply blank out.
How do these sources actually define or describe test anxiety? Is it just nerves?
It's more than just standard nerves.
Yes.
OES-24 describes it as that deep uneasiness or nervousness before or during exams, often rooted in a fear of failure or intense pressure. Mercy College provides more detail, explaining it manifests as both mental stress like negative thoughts, inability to concentrate, irrational beliefs, and physical symptoms, so racing heart, sweating, nausea, muscle tension.
Wow, okay.
They clarify that while some nervousness is normal and can even be motivating, excessive anxiety is damaging. Mercy College also differentiates true test anxiety, which they describe as an intense, often non-subject-specific fear tied to the act of test-taking itself from general nervousness or anxiety caused solely by being unprepared.
That distinction is helpful. So, knowing what it is, how do the sources suggest you manage that kind of debilitating stress?
Well, adequate preparation is the first, and probably the most potent, antidote. Simply knowing you've done the work boosts confidence immensely. OES-24 and Mercy College both stress this. Beyond that, practice relaxation techniques. Deep breathing is widely recommended across the board. OES-24, easy-peasy puzzles, Mercy College.
And shifting your perspective, your mindset seems really important too.
Yes, definitely. OES-24 and Mercy College suggest using positive self-talk, actively replacing those negative inner monologues, I'm going to fail, with affirmations, I am prepared, I can handle this. Visualization is another technique, picturing yourself calm, confident, and successfully navigating the exam.
What about things you can do immediately before or during the test if that anxiety starts to spike?
Arriving early, but not too early, can cut down on last-minute panic. During the exam, try to focus intensely on the present moment, just one question at a time. Techniques like progressive muscle relaxation, tensing, and releasing muscle groups, or just taking slow, deep breaths if you feel overwhelmed, can really help center you.
Right.
Infinity Learn and Mercy College suggests making these relaxation techniques, like deep breathing or even short walks, regular practices in your routine, not just emergency measures you pull out when you're already stressed. And Mercy College offers some really quite profound strategies for changing your thinking about the anxiety itself. They suggest confronting the worst-case scenario, actually picture failing the test and realizing you can still cope, learn from it, and move forward. Keep the test in perspective. It's just one test, one part of your overall learning journey.
That perspective is hard to maintain sometimes, but crucial.
It is. They also suggest creating a psychological safety net, reminding yourself you have options, or you can improve next time. They talk about thought stopping, literally telling yourself, stop when those negative thoughts start spiraling. Challenge absolute statements like, I always fail. Replace always with sometimes to introduce realism. Let go of past failures or irrational beliefs you hold about yourself. And reframe your internal dialogue from, I have to pass this, to something more like, I would like to pass, I am prepared, and I know I can do my best.
Those sound like really powerful mindset shifts that probably have benefits way beyond just test-taking situations.
They really do. And Mercy College also stresses physical techniques alongside the mental ones. Things like regular aerobic exercise, practice deep breathing, even guided imagery CDs or apps. Practicing these outside of high-stress moments makes them much more effective when you actually need them in the exam room.
And, looping back slightly, self-care comes back into play here during the exam period itself, right? Not just during prep.
Absolutely. Neglecting self-care during the intense exam period remains a mistake. Prioritizing sufficient sleep the night before the exam is critical. Everyone agrees on that. Eat nutritious food, stay hydrated, and avoid excessive caffeine or sugar right before the test, which can increase jitteriness. Mercy College specifically advises against going into the exam on an empty stomach and suggests choosing foods known to reduce stress, like complex carbs, rather than sugary snacks.
What about isolating yourself socially when you're stressed and studying? Is that a mistake?
OES-24 points out that maintaining social connections during this time is actually important. Sharing your concerns with friends or family provides valuable emotional support and can give you much-needed perspective. Don't just lock yourself away entirely.
And finally, once the exam is actually done, finished, handed in, any post-exam mistakes people commonly make?
Yes. First, intuition has a great tip here. Don't dwell on the exam obsessively once it's over. And definitely try to avoid getting into those detailed post-mortem discussions about specific answers with classmates right outside the exam hall.
Oh, but that's so tempting, isn't it? You want to know if you got question 3 right.
It is incredibly tempting. But first, intuition argues it's often just a quick way to erode your confidence or build anxiety, with no real benefit at that immediate moment. Their advice: leave the exam room feeling as light as possible, put it behind you for now, and go do something you enjoy, maybe with friends.
Decompress.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mercy College adds that you can and should review your performance later, maybe when you get the results back, to identify what worked and what didn't for future improvement. But for the immediate aftermath, just celebrate that you got through it.
Okay, wow, we've covered a tremendous amount of ground there. From setting yourself up for success before the test, navigating all those potential pitfalls during it, managing your mindset and well-being, and even learning how to use resources effectively afterwards.
Yeah, what really emerges from looking across all these different sources is a clear picture. While making mistakes on exams is definitely common, they aren't just random bad luck. They are largely predictable patterns, and with awareness, proper planning, and consistent effort, they are highly avoidable.
It's a powerful reminder, isn't it, that success in exams isn't just about raw intelligence or how much information you manage to cram into your head. It's significantly about employing effective habits and strategies, both in your preparation and in your approach on exam day itself.
Absolutely. By understanding these common traps, the procrastination, the passive learning, the poor time management, the anxiety spirals, and actively implementing the solutions we've discussed today, you genuinely can improve your performance and reduce that horrible, frustrating feeling of knowing you could have done better.
So, considering all these potential pitfalls and all these actionable strategies we've talked through today, from planning your study schedule and practicing questions effectively to managing your time and anxiety during the test and learning from your experience afterward, what's one specific, maybe small change you listening could realistically make today in your preparation or your test taking approach that might just have the biggest positive impact on your next exam? Something concrete to take away from this deep dive.